I spent 2 days trying to get as much done as possible around my house. This video is like a bit of everything. We have got cleaning the bins to baking a 3-tier chocolate cake for my little girl's birthday and everything else in between. So I am working on this first day and then I have my non-working day on the next day. So we start off on my working day. Yes, I do look a bit scruffy, but if I'm working from home and I don't have client calls, then I can basically wear whatever I want. So I have got my Taylor Swift jumper on and my jeans, and that is it. And I find that kind of easiest for me to then run around doing things around the house. But I do like to get dressed up, which I do basically if I'm going into like London or going to see clients in person. But otherwise, if I've got like a client call, I'll wear a nicer jumper. And that's about it really. Thank goodness for working from home. So I'm starting out just trying to sort out the kitchen. Now I started my decluttering journey like proper this time round. It was actually in December when I'd lost my watch and I was like, the house was overwhelming anyway. And I don't know, you know, if you've got house has got a bit on top of you and then you add Christmas decorations in the mix, suddenly it's like next level. And I thought, right, I know it's a terrible time of year, like December is incredibly busy between all of the kids' functions, seeing Santa, seeing family, buying Christmas presents, all of it. Like, you know, December is crazy. I just couldn't take it one more minute and I had to start decluttering, and it was the best thing that I have ever done. Honestly, has been like life-changing, legit life-changing. But it has been an incredibly slow process. So we've had spurts of activity, like December through to January. I got a lot done because I had that real like, you know, well, firstly, it was a bit quieter at work. As January particularly is usually quieter at work for me. And then secondly, I had to find that watch, which we did find. We found it on like day 10. So I'm getting to that time basically where we're nearly at a year, like, you know, before we know it, it's going to be December. And we're going to be at that year point, and I want to do a before and after video. So I have the original walkthrough that I took of the house. On the day I decided, I just made a spur of the moment decision, I'm going to do this, picked up my phone, walked through my house and videoed it as it was, and then I started my declutter. So I'm going to do, I've still got that video, I'm going to do another walkthrough and show you where I've got to, but I'm also conscious that I'm not there yet and I'm not going to get there like within a year. This is going to be an ongoing process, okay, because I have young children. But I want to do a bit of a prep for Christmas so that when I get the Christmas decorations out this time, I'm basically done with any kind of decluttering, DIY, any of that sort of stuff. I'm just showing you here my my robot vacuum cleaner. It's about 5 years old and I think it's coming to the end of its life. It's just basically just drives itself around in little circles. It's better than nothing, but it's not great. So I'm going to be looking out for deals in the when Black Friday comes around in November. But yeah, I'm basically doing a bit of a kind of everyday tidy up in this kind of particular moment of this video. But what I want to do is have like I'm going to do a series. So I'm going to do like 4 weeks leading up to when I get the Christmas decorations out. So probably start toward the end of this month and then lead into November. And I'm going to do a prep for Christmas. And idea is if you want to like join me, come along for the ride, then it will be something that you can follow as well. And I'll try and get a bit of a plan up that you can take a copy of, and we'll go like room by room, section by section. Mine will look different to yours, so it'll be adaptable because I will have the odd little DIY job that I need to do as well. So it will be quite like fluid, but it'll just give us a bit of a framework, I think, to follow. And then we'll be at the point where like if you're hosting at Christmas, you've got events, you've got drinks, you've got anyone coming around, or you're just worried about people dropping in to drop presents off and you're thinking, oh my God, the house is an absolute nightmare. Then you will be in a better position by the time you get your deckies out. And then, you know, I don't know, how early do you go? Because we wait until we're actually in December. So I actually absolutely did not have enough time to get Halloween decorations out today, but it was the 1st of October when I recorded this and I decided I wanted to get the decorations out. So I got the decorations out and I just did some. I just did some that I could do as quickly as possible, just showing you what I got out. We still have some left to put up. I got these little window, stick-on window decorations, one each for a kid, you know, the kids' windows, and we haven't done those yet. So we haven't put those up yet, but I've got them and they're ready to go. And I've just got a few little, I'm such a sucker for anything with Snoopy on. I love Snoopy. Is that exciting?
Yeah. This time I actually going to Henry's house.
Go to Henry's house? Yeah. Not right now. Another day? No, darling.
Yes. Yeah. That's where we're having the telly party. That's where we're having the telly party, Mum.
Good.
Where do you think the telly?
I wish I'd remembered when I did the school run to record the kids as soon as they started like on the approach to the path, because their initial reaction to the decorations was so, like, they were squealing with excitement. My eldest, as you could hear though, he was solely focused on having his friends round for some kind of disco party. It's something they've been talking about for ages, and I actually caught up with one of the school mums this morning after the school run today. And I was like, we're going to have to like spring a disco party on them one evening. We'll just like carry on with the evening routine as usual, and then like get them all in the car, bring them all to mine, and we'll just have a disco party. I don't know why I'm suggesting these things as well. Why am I suggesting having lots of children around for a disco party one evening when I need to be getting on top of the house? But anyway, I love the kids, having people around, making all these memories, doing all the fun stuff, and try and squeeze in as much of it as possible around work and everything else, because I work 4 long days a week, and so it's full on. It is full on, absolutely. So I went for a run, and I can't remember, I think this is out now post run, so we're toward the end of the day now. And I went out for a run with the local women's running club, and now I am just getting things a bit tidied up. So what I'm doing this particular evening, so it is my little girl's birthday in a couple of days, and I want to get the sponges made for her cake in advance so that I can freeze them, because I've been basically trying to level up my amateur cake baking game recently, and it's definitely working. So one of the bits of advice that I saw all over like YouTube, TikTok, was to freeze the sponges in advance, and then you ice them frozen. So you do a crumb coating onto the frozen sponges. So I didn't freeze my sponges previously, and I had never done a crumb coating in my life. And then I made my mother-in-law's 70th birthday cake, which was back in July, and I did all these things. It wasn't perfect. I learnt more lessons in the process, but it was the best cake I've ever made, I think. I mean, some of mine have been complete flops, to be fair, but I was quite pleased with this. So I've been trying to do it ever since, and it's worked really well. So what I am doing is making the sponges now, and also just it takes the pressure off, because previously I'd like make the sponges in the morning, and then I'd go to ice the cake in the evening, the day before birthday, and I'd be up until like midnight, 1 a.m. icing the cake up against the clock, feeling stressed out. And it wasn't a fun, like, I love baking, it wasn't a fun experience. I want it to be more of a fun experience, because for me it was always like a therapeutic, like calming, like spend my time doing this, and it hadn't been. So making the sponges in advance and freezing them, like regardless of crumb coatings or whatever else you do, it definitely takes the load off. So 100% recommend this. One thing I found though, which the mistake I made for mother-in-law's 70th birthday cake, was that I put the sponges, so I cut the sponge, so that in that case it was 1 sponge, and then I was cutting it in half. Or rather it was 2 sponges cut in half, because it was a 4-tier, it was massive. But I once I cut it in half, I then put it back together and into the freezer, and of course it just kind of like froze back together. So this time round, I put cling film in between the layers. It seems like quite common sense actually in hindsight, but anyway, just in case you're going to do this and you didn't think about it like me. Also, this time around I put the cakes onto a chopping board so that they froze completely flat. Another thing that I didn't do when it came to mother-in-law's, and so I had to let them thaw a little bit so that they could flatten out before I could ice them. It all worked out absolutely fine, but those things made this time round for my daughter's cake so much easier. So I'm making a chocolate sponge because that was her request. She wanted a chocolate sponge cake. One thing I should have done is soften the butter even more. So I left the butter out. It was soft, but it needed to be super soft. I probably should have just microwaved it for a bit. All fine in the end. I just had to whisk it for a lot longer. I'm making a chocolate cake from a recipe from a book that I have. It's a Lorraine Pascal baking book, and it is the best chocolate sponge that I've ever made. You make it with creme fraiche, so good. I think Lorraine Pascal was such a good baker, and then she sort of disappeared off the earth. This book that I have is so old. It's probably, I don't know, somewhere between 10 and 15 years old. So it's a really good recipe though. It's one I've done lots before. What I love about it is you chuck everything in together and then you whisk it. So there's quite a few different ingredients, but you just have to, you know, there's no like whisk this, then add this, and sieve this. Like, I don't have time for that. So it's all shoved in. I made the cake this evening. So you make it in 2 pans. A mistake I did make is I didn't measure the mixture as I was putting them in the pans. That's what they do on Bake Off, isn't it? And that's what I should have done, because I ended up making one quite a lot deeper than the other. So we learn our lessons. Next time I would actually measure them out, like weigh the mixture in the pans to make sure I got it pretty even. Anyway, you know, it is what it is, it's fine. But I basically went to bed that evening pretty late and I kept thinking it wasn't going to be tall enough, because so my daughter had asked for a chocolate sweetie cake, and she is turning 3. This is her 3rd birthday cake, so she's still pretty young. And I was like, I'm pretty sure you don't know what a chocolate sweetie cake is. Not to be that impolite, but I'm not sure you know what a chocolate sweetie cake is. So I went on to like YouTube Shorts and searched for chocolate sweetie cake and just showed her like a bunch of different ones people were making. Sat there one morning in bed looking through all these little videos, and then one came up was a chocolate cake, and it had pink icing, a chocolate drip around the edge, and then loads of sweeties on it. And she was like, yes, that one, 100%, that is what I want. She loves pink, so she loves chocolate, she loves pink, and this was, yeah, dream cake. So it was taller though, this cake. So I think all the professional cakes that you see made, they're like 4 tiers and above, right? So they tend to be quite tall cakes, not necessarily wide, but they tend to be quite tall, and that I think is what makes a cake like really impressive. But also having that chocolate drip edging, like you have to have like some distance to drip the chocolate. And I was just thinking about it, and I was like, 2 tiers is not going to be enough. So having done like the baking that I did the night before, what you can see now is the night before, I basically decided I was going to make a 3rd tier, but I didn't make it that evening because by this point it is already quite late. Like, this was a late night, and I get a lot of comments from people saying, I don't know how you do it all. And if I'm completely honest, I don't get enough sleep, and also I don't think that is a good thing. So I don't want to advocate for people skipping sleep in order to get things done. I definitely need to find a better medium here. I don't have the balance right, and I am feeling it. I'm now 42 and I am feeling it. I'm not getting enough sleep. So I got myself, another thing I did to help me with my cake baking this year is I got a cake turntable, and I got the turntable came with a bunch of stuff that I was like, I don't need this stuff, including a cake leveler. And as it turns out, I did need a cake leveler, and it is very handy. So you can set it to different heights, and you know, I leveled them out, but I could have done with leveling them more. But if I did that, I was going to lose too much height from the one which is short, which you can see that one in my hand was just too short really. So here I'm putting the cling film in between them. So I'm changed here basically because I've had a shower. So while they were cooling down, I had a shower because I'd been to that running club. I was still in my sweaty gym kit. I obviously washed my hands and everything, washed the sweat off me in terms of what I was doing for touching the cake and making the cake, but I needed to have a good shower and wash my hair. So I did that, and then I set that cake, you know, I'm just having to tidied up all of that rubbish, and then it's time to get my hair dry, get to bed. I want to say I probably went to bed, I don't know, it could have been It was probably around midnight or maybe past midnight, and that is not good enough, guys. That is not good enough. Especially because for months now my little girl's been getting up every night and getting into bed with us, which she did again that night, of course. So because she was kind of kicking me in the back and I wasn't sleeping very well, I actually got up quite early. So normally I do sleep until like the kids get up about 7ish, but I got up earlier because, like, I don't know, I think it was about 5:30, and I was like, I'm absolutely done like with being kicked in the back. Sometimes it's absolutely fine and she sleeps really nicely, and sometimes she is like a little gymnastic in the bed. So I left her sleeping in my bed. My husband always gets up early. He always gets up at 5, but he is good at getting to bed earlier, okay? So he will get himself to bed at sort of 10 o'clock-ish, read a bit of a book, go to sleep. I am not. I am the one that tries to squeeze everything into the day until it gets to like midnight. And I think, oh my God, I'm not going to get enough sleep. And then I don't. So I've got up early, we're rehydrating, bit of water, get my tea on, and then I am making the third tier of the cake. So I had resolved to make a third tier, and this was so much easier because I literally halved the ingredients. I only need one pan, and then I don't have to worry about the height of it. So it was absolutely the most perfect like tier of all of them, because it was the precise like right amount of ingredients for one tin. So you know, and then also I'd learned my lesson from the day before, and I properly like melted the butter, not so it was too hot when the other ingredients were going in. I don't want to end up with like adding the eggs and having scrambled eggs in the cake, but so that it was just melted, and that was absolutely perfect. This mixture with the creme fraiche and everything, there's quite a lot of eggs in it, it's quite a wet mixture. It sort of makes a bit of a mousse, that kind of texture, and it's just delicious. So definitely look it up, the Lorraine Pascal chocolate cake recipe with creme fraiche. It is the best. And I have since eaten some of the cake, and I can confirm it. Even though it was my cake, I know you're not supposed to say this about your own cakes, right? It was yummy. So while that is cooking and before I have to get the kids up, I'm just emptying the dishwasher, trying to get ahead of the day a bit, making the milk for the evening, because if I'm getting kids' cups out of the dishwasher, I always aim to put it back in them, like if it's water, if it's milk, whatever, I put it back in immediately and then put them into the fridge to cool. And yeah, just trying to just get myself a little bit ahead and tidy up a bit more. I'm conscious that I do sort of flit between conversations on these voiceovers, and yeah, I don't know if I finished the conversation about my series ahead of Christmas, but let me know, drop a comment down below if you want to get on board the, you know, getting organised for Christmas train. Like 100% always feels easier when you are doing things with other people. And I definitely need the, you know, the YouTube channel in itself helps me, definitely keeps me on track for things. Like when I decide something and I tell everyone I'm going to do it, it spurs me on to get things done. But I think if you sign up to a group or whatever to get something done, it always helps. So the little people are now up, and it is time to get breakfast going. And my youngest is so clingy. I kind of felt like it kind of looked a bit harsh there that I won't pick her up, but all she wants to do is be picked up all the time. And my back is a bit sore at the moment. You know, I'm an old lady now, 42. But no, my back is a bit sore and I'm really struggling to pick her up all the time. I feel like at 3, the kids get to that point where I'm like, oh God, I can't keep picking them up as much as they want. Like it's a hard period of time because they're still little and they want to be carried. And I want to carry them, but oh my goodness me, I think I carried my eldest, so it was still being carted around at 3, but he was absolutely without doubt the biggest of all of my kids. He was always like such a solid little chunky monkey, and oh my goodness me, it might be time to use some of my private medical care money on some physio toward the end of this year to stop my back from getting any worse. But I'm trying at the moment to just encourage my toddler not to be picked up and carried so much. So I do have a little scooter thingy for her when we're out and about. We have the buggy still, so you know she doesn't need to walk everywhere or anything. But you know, I'm mindful of her age, of her little legs. But yeah, it's a tricky one, really. So porridge this morning, I made a change over a year ago now. Tried to start reducing the amount of ultra processed foods that we had, and I thought when it came to like cereals, breakfast stuff, because I realised breakfast was probably where we were having a lot of the most ultra processed ingredients, which surprised me. I didn't realise how many ultra processed ingredients were in the bread that I was giving the kids, cereals, etc. Having more like proper porridge, so proper oats, frozen fruit, bit of honey, milk, nothing else. That was a big change that we made, and I thought they would not enjoy it, and they actually love it, and they never sort of notice the difference. I also got a bread maker, and I make a lot of my own bread, but my husband doesn't like it. So I would make for the kids white bread, and I always figure like homemade white bread is a lot better than shop bought white bread. It's still white bread, and having like brown bread, grains, whatever would be better. But when it comes to the kids, I'm okay. If they want the white bread, I prefer it to be the one that I make. My husband really likes tiger bread. And you can't make tiger bread in the bread maker. Like, you could prove the bread, but you have to finish it off like by hand. And I just don't have time to make 3 tiger loaves a week. So I don't know how we wean husband off tiger bread. I don't know. Maybe I need to start making him his own like brown granary kind of loaf, and then make the kids a separate white loaf, which I could do. So anyway, thoughts if you make bread, how you manage this when people want different bread. So we're not quite there on the bread. We were, and I feel like we've gone backwards on the bread with ultra processed. So we are another outfit change, and you may be wondering what day we are on and what we are doing. So this was the second day. This was my non-working day. So I made the cake early in the morning and got the kids all ready for school, and did the school run. And I was going to kind of record a bit more during the day, but honestly, just my Thursdays are absolutely like, they're just so busy, so full. We had a fantastic day. I'm going to say it was one of the best Thursdays we've had in ages, because this was the day before my toddler's birthday, and she was going to be in preschool for her birthday, and I was working. So I wanted to have like a really nice birthday day out with her, and we just went to our local high street. There's this new play cafe opened, and it was like a little mini village. So it had like a salon, and it had a grocery store, and a vet's, and a doctor's, and all this. It was all, wooden toys and all really cute. And she absolutely loved it. We played there, had a coffee, and then we had to run a couple of errands. We went to the library. I had broken a nail that morning, and it was really bad. So I went to the little nail shop that I go to, and they did the speediest repair. But honestly, like, my little one just had the best time. She was sat there, they gave her a lolly, she was chatting to everyone. She loves like nails and everything. And obviously she's too young to have that done in a salon. I do it for her occasionally at home. But yeah, she was absolutely loving talking to everyone, watching everything, and it was super quick. And then we had lunch out, and it was such a nice day, such nice weather. She asked to sit outside, and it was like, oh, it's just so lovely, lovely food. And we just had the most lovely day. And then it was the chaos of picking the kids up from school and getting the boys to their clubs. So now the kids are in bed. I have made, during their kind of wind down time of the evening, I made the icing, and I didn't film that because they were quite emotional. Thursdays, they do tend to be, and they're getting toward the end of the week. They were all a bit emotional, so I didn't film anything, but I got the icing done, and I had that in the fridge. So I've got that out, and that is like warming up. While that's doing that, I'm cleaning the bins. Now, this was one of those jobs which I have needed to do for ages, and what I wanted to do was take all the bins out, hose them down, give them a thorough like clean, bleach them, whatever, disinfect them properly, and then clean all around the inside of the bin and underneath and where all the rubbish gets. But I never got time to do that, and I didn't have time to do that this day. But they had started to smell a little bit, so like even when they were emptied. So I basically did the best I could, and I cleaned them out with sprays inside. I cleaned what I could around the edges and the bottoms and the sides, and actually it was much better than I thought. And it's kind of, I'm always being reminded that actually just do what you can in the time that you have. Like, you might want to do a deep clean. If you don't have a time for a deep clean, just do what you can, and it is better than nothing. So done is better than none, and that was so the case. They still look much better, they smell better. So yeah, it was good. And because we've done the bins, cleaned the bins, you saw I washed my hands twice and I washed my arms. So before anyone's like, oh my God, that is disgusting, icing a cake after you have cleaned bins, like it's not ideal. So sorry if you can hear, I don't know if you can hear my dishwasher in the background here, but I can only record these voiceovers when I can. So please cope with background noises. But I'm doing the crumb coating now of the cakes. You can just use plain like cream icing, you don't have to colour the icing for crumb coating, but I'm making one big batch of icing, pink icing, and using it for everything because I just don't have time to do two. So these cakes are frozen and I'm putting the crumb coating straight on. And what that means is that the icing starts to set as you are putting it on. So I'm just using a spatula to put them on. Another thing that I invested in this year when it came to doing mother-in-law's cake was like a cake leveler. It's metal, just looks like a big chunky ruler really, nice thick ruler, but it is really good and that has definitely helped. So you'll see that in a minute. And then we have our kind of third tier to put on. There was a bit of a gap where I had a bit of an uneven cake and I could have leveled it more, but then it would have been just too short really. So I had a bit of a gap to fill. So basically on the edges of the cake it's very thick, dense buttercream. Kids loved it. It was absolutely fine. I would not be winning Bake Off with it though. And as you can see, I'm doing this while the kids are kind of winding down for bedtime. They're getting really into their colouring lately and I love, they're sitting up at the kitchen island, colouring in some pictures that they'd done at their boys brigade earlier that day. I really love that they're getting into colouring. It's such a like therapeutic thing and it is a nice calm activity. Like this was a nice calm moment. Toddler is kind of up and down. She's still not got quite the attention span for those activities. But one of the things I really wanted when it came to having the kitchen island put in, I wanted the kids to all be able to sit up there, like have their breakfast. One thing that hasn't worked quite so well is that we only have 2 tall stools there. The chairs I bought were going out of like stock. So I managed to get 2 and I couldn't manage to get a third one. I figured it'd come back in stock, but they just stopped selling them at that shop and I've never found one that matched. So I don't really know what to do because I love the chairs that we have. So, but I'm tempted to get just like a completely different chair, like get a proper like bar stool wooden one or something that's totally different. I don't know. Like at the moment, we actually have one of our spare dining table chairs that sits in the gap. So we'd also have to find room for that. We have that there because we have the toddler chair at the end of the table, blah, 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 blah. Anyway, like it basically won't work for the 3 of them to sit up there having their breakfast together. But anyway, so now you will see as I'm kind of filling in the gaps and just sort of chucking some icing into the edges now and trying to get like a thick coating on there. And then I'm using that leveler to scrape it off. And then as you scrape it off, you can see better where any of your other gaps are. And then basically it's just a process of filling those gaps, going back over with the leveler. I'm not too worried about the top. I just want to get that like ish level because I'm going to cover it in chocolate effectively. And I should mention, I've never done a chocolate drip coating ever. And I'm not 100% sure how to do it, but I saw a bunch of people on like YouTube shorts just using melted chocolate for it. So that felt like something I could do. So now it looks like, oh my God, have we gone back in time? It's really mucky. I've just decided to go in with the second, like this is the proper icing layer. So we've done the crumb coating and now I'm back with the next coat. This is like the final coat of icing. So what you would ordinarily do is like chill the cake. After the crumb coating, you want to chill the cake for a few hours and then do your final coating. But because I'd done the crumb coating to a fully frozen cake, it was basically like set itself. So just showing you now, bedtime's happened. Kids have gone to bed, cake is pretty level, but I just wanted to show you the absolute like carnage of the kitchen. Bear in mind, you saw me tidy it up earlier. So I'm now melting some chocolate over some boiling water. Husband is on cake wrapping, present wrapping duties. So that's what generally how we work. I do the cake, he's doing the presents. He'll blow up some balloons later. So I did not melt enough chocolate. Luckily, I got a massive family-sized bar of chocolate, but I didn't melt enough, and it was clear to me immediately. And I was worried, given that the cake is is quite frozen still. I was worried this was going to set too quickly to the drips. So I melted some more very quickly, like I'd left the boiling water on and then chucked that on. Just in case you think like I've got everything under control, okay, the house looks like a bomb has hit it and I've not melted enough chocolate. This is when I start to get a bit stressed out. But you know what? This actually went better than I thought. I didn't have enough icing to pipe an edge, which is what I normally would do. I got my measurements wrong for my butter and my icing sugar. So I had just enough to ice the cake. And then I thought, do you know what? I've got so much chocolate that I bought for the top because I wasn't sure what I needed, that I put the buttons on instead. And actually, because it was really nice and level around the edges, I didn't feel like I needed to cover the edge at the bottom with anything. And then it is just a case of chucking all the sweeties on. If I'm honest, I feel like I've covered up a very good flat cake. But here's what it looked like. Not quite 100% at the end because I put another I had this little bunting thing that went on that made it look even better. But now the cake is done. We got to tidy up. And this was thankfully one of those occasions where I looked at it and thought, oh my God, this is awful. I've got so much to do. And it wasn't too bad at all. It didn't take me too long. You can see my cake turntable there now properly. Which has been like such a good investment. I'm really pleased with it. The only thing with these things is that you've got to store them somewhere. And my kitchen cupboards are getting quite full. So I'm just popping the bunting in there. I don't know if you saw that at all. And then it is time to get everything tidied up. Get the dishwasher filled, get that on. I have a really lovely big mixing bowl. You might be able to see it on top of the hob there. And that was actually my grandma's. And I love that kind of handing down through the generations of various bowls and things and bits of equipment. And you know, maybe one day one of my kids will be using my cake turntable, my mixing bowl or something to bake cakes for their kids. And I love that. Like if it's usable, like don't keep things just because, but if you're using it and it has a role to play in your life, then I think that is awesome. That is so nice. But there's 100% more that I can be doing to declutter, and I do realise that lately it's not getting on top of me again. I feel like that the efforts that I've made to declutter throughout the year have made a really dramatic improvement to our lives, but there is definitely more that we can do heading into Christmas. I'm feeling very excited to get stuck into it and see that full year transformation. And actually on the weekend that followed this particular recording session, I did get a bunch of toys out, sat down with the kids, and we decluttered a massive bag of toys together. That is the first time the kids have really got invested. My littlest was not good at decluttering, and I don't expect that. Eldest was really good, and middle child is definitely getting better. I feel like it's the first time that both boys have been really able to say no, we don't want it, no, we're not playing with that, not interested, too babyish, whatever, and had my eldest questioning my middle child on a few things he wanted, you don't play with that, you don't want that, that's too babyish. But if they really want to keep it, they keep it. And there were a few things that we kept that I thought we really could get rid of this, but I want them to learn with me when it comes to decluttering. We talk about, why are we getting rid of toys? We're freeing up some space in our toy cubbies, ready for Christmas, that when Santa brings the new presents, we have somewhere to put them. So it makes sense because it is so true. That is exactly what we do. We're freeing up some space for some more fun things to come in, right? So it's important that they understand that, and that they're part of that process. But there is, I'm not filming everything that I'm decluttering, but I do want to motivate myself for this new series, and some little DIY jobs as well. I've got various things. I was in my little girl's room the other day and I'm looking at the woodwork and thinking, I've never painted the woodwork. It's only just had an undercoat and it has never had a gloss. Never had the woodwork, you can still see through to the wood in places. It's never been finished. And her room was completed about 5 years ago. So my middle child initially had it as his room and it was never fully decorated. I've done more decorating once youngest came along. I panelled the room, I painted that. but the woodwork is never finished, and I'm tired of it. I want it done. I want some of these areas done. No, we are not actually hosting Christmas this year. We're going to my mum's, but I want to host some mum drinks with my mum friends. I want them to come over for like a cheese and wine night. Sometimes to do like a wreath making, like Christmas wreath making evening. Like I want to do these things, and I don't want to have to do like a massive declutter and tidy before people come around. I want to get it to the point where we just need to do some maintenance cleans and get things done. Are you hosting when it comes to Christmas? What are your plans? I'm getting I know it's October, but honestly, I know this. I know Christmas will be here before, like, October will be gone. So here's what things are looking like. Ready for little one's 3rd birthday the next morning. We've got all her presents from various family members, got the balloons, and then everything's looking tidy. Look, the living room is back to normal. The kitchen is pretty, it's not perfect, but it's looking a lot better. And my youngest was so excited the next day coming down to it all, and we had the most wonderful time celebrating. Thanks all.